Hi everyone, hello everyone. I'm just going to turn on my camera. There we go. Not me trying to turn on my camera and muting myself. There we go. Hi everyone. Good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just taking a look at the people in here. Hi Biola. Hi Israel. Hey, there we go. Aqua Bata Okoye. I'm almost certain I pronounced that wrongly, but forgive me if I did. How's it pronounced, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, Aku. There we go. Hi, Aku. Hi, Toluwani. Hi, Victory. Hello, Toby. Ogene Keno. Oh, I wonder how that's pronounced. Did I get it? Maybe not. Hi, Daniel. Another Daniel. Lucky you. Your life is there we go. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. And there we go. There we go. Nice. Okay, people are trooping in one after the other. I'm just saying a lot of highs. By the way, I don't sound like this on the normal day, just in case you were wondering. Um, oh, there we go. Hi, Shibumi. It's very much a today thing. I lost my voice. I wasn't partying or anything. Um, I think there's a flu going around, and I caught it. Thank you, Shibumi. Much appreciated. I feel so much better. Yeah. So where are you guys joining from? I'm actually curious. I mean, I might say. So I'm joining from London. I know Shubumi is as well. If you guys don't mind letting us know in the chat where everyone's joining from. Oh, there we go, Lagos. Thank you, Tolu. I'm a Lagos boy as well. I say I am. I try to be. But yeah, Tolu's joining from Lagos. Anyone else joining from anywhere else? I'll be surprised if it's a bunch of Lagos people. Egbeda. Oh, nice to meet you, Victory. I lived very close to Egbeda. I lived in Idimo. So we were basically neighbors, if you dip it. Basingstoke. Hi, Opeyemi from Basingstoke. I wonder how far exactly Basingstoke is from. Hi, Aku from BGC. Hi, Venetia from Abuja. I'm almost certain I know Venetia. I know a Venetia, and the name is unique enough that it's probably the same Venetia. Hi,
Hi,
Venetia.
Daniel. Yes, you do. It's good to
Oh,
see you.
there you go. Same Venetia. Good to see you as well. Okay, people are dropping it. Oh, there we go. Daniel also from Lagos. All right, nice. I like I like how far reaching this crowd seems to be. Okay, so we'll just do like another 1 minute of waiting and get started. Israel, thank you for sharing your coordinates, but I think we can do without knowing what flat number you live in. Lagos, Nigeria. Nice. There we go. Israel, yeah. I mean, you might as well give us your account number while you're at it. Hi, Shegun from Lagos, Nigeria. Nice to meet you, Shegun. Okay. There's a bunch of us, so I've just paused my music, which means you have to listen to me talk whether or not you like it. But yeah, welcome everyone. Good evening. There's gonna be a bunch of people still joining in a bit, anyways. But I figure we get this party started in it. So I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you, or DT, if you want to call me DT. Um, and yeah, I'll just give you a tiny, tiny, tiny rundown of why we're here, and then let's Shibumi take this party away. There we go. There we go. Nice. I'm trying to share my screen. I do not want to say the phrase, can you see my screen? But I might have, I'm assuming no one can see my screen yet. Okay, there we go. Oh, it seems like I got kicked out. Did I get kicked out? Seems like
No,
I
I
got,
can still hear you.
oh, okay, there we go. Nice. I was trying to share my screen and then eh, everything disappeared. Jump back. Um, I'm just trying to pull up my very quick slides to remind everyone why we're here and then get get this party started. Hey, there we go. Okay, please let me know the moment you can really see my screen. So I'm just gonna take it in a second.
We cannot hear you. Um, no, I think the screen share is like ruining your audio.
And if you want, I can share. If you want to share the documents.
It's probably rejoining.
Okay, am I back on audio?
Yes.
Yes. Ah, there we go. Ooh, okay. All right. Please let's be good. Please let's be good. All right. Yeah, I was just gonna quickly share my screen and do like a 5 minute intro. I am going to keep it to maybe a 2 minute intro. Okay, there we go. All right. On my screen. Yet. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Yep.
Perfect. Wow. I thought we'll never
All
see
right.
it.
Oh, that is the most number of times I've said, "Can you see my screen?" in a single day this month. It's interesting. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you. Thumbs up. It is also nice to meet me. Apologies for only just getting this party started. Technical difficulties, we'll call it. But yeah, welcome. We are here for the first workshop that is part of, uh, I guess, what we call the artificial future. I don't know how familiar every single person on here is with what we're doing, but the artificial future is YPIT's initiative. And YPIT is, YPIT stands for Young People in Tech. Many of you, I think, are part of that community or have engaged with that community in the past, say, 2, 3, 4 years. Some of you maybe even longer, but we've been around since 2022. We started very small with very
Um,
humble ambitions. We,
we
yeah,
lost your presentation.
presentation. Okay. At least my audio is still here. Um, please let me know every time the presentation goes off, just to make sure.
Or you could just
Because I
share it.
can't. Yeah, yeah. Can you see now? Okay, there we go. All right. So yeah, I was saying we've been around since 2022, started Humble Ambitions. Now, there's a couple thousand of us, and YPIT AF, or the Artificial Future, as we call it, is our initiative to empower young tech professionals like many of you in this world of artificial future. There's a manifesto, but the gist basically is that AI is in the picture now. The world has changed, therefore the future has changed as part of that. We haven't always gotten a chance to write our future,
Yeah,
but this technology,
sorry, your
yes,
screen has
I
changed
lost
as
you
well.
again. What do you say?
So your screen has changed as well. If you want,
Okay,
though,
no problem. I'll go without sharing my screen. Then
I'll
it's
just
fine.
share,
There's no
share
problem
the
there.
document if you can, and then I'll just share it from my end. Does that work for you?
Okay. In the meantime, I'll keep talking. I'll share the document with you.
All right, cool.
Yeah, but we have the opinion that there's a chance for us to get very involved to quote unquote build this future. And as part of that, it means we must know how to engage with it. We must be technically fluent, we must be AI fluent. There's so much that could be done here. We've come across many, many amazing ways that people are doing amazing things with artificial intelligence. And we want everybody to be a partaker, which is why we I guess dreamed up this vision of AF, the artificial future. And essentially what it is a couple of weeks through April to June, where we bring people together through workshops, hackathon, and a conference in June, Lagos, Nigeria. So shout out to all the people in Lagos. Bring everyone together, through this conference, and we raise the capability for everyone to participate. So as part of that, like I said, being technically fluent or technically fluent in AI is an important part of that. It means you must understand how to make it work with you and for you as young tech professionals. It means that you must, get very comfortable being in the details and the weed with AI. It means you must get, very comfortable getting it to do things for you, with you. Just the general idea of being AI native young professional, and that's why we are building the artificial future. And as part of those, the workshops, the very first of those is Shubomi's workshop. I'll give a brief intro. So Shubomi is a senior product manager at Microsoft. She lives in London. She works in AI. She works with AI, and I thought, being a product manager, it is, I guess, one of the easier professions to pass across. When people say, "What do you do? What do you do?" When you say you're a product manager, it doesn't scare people off immediately. I thought, it would be a very relatable profession for someone that does, that is quote unquote an AI native professional to engage with the community and to share how she uses AI, how AI works for her, what it means to work in AI, and all of that. And yeah, so that's Shibomi's intro. It's a lot more extensive than that, believe me. But given that we're rushing for time, I shall let her dive into this. So nice to meet you, everyone. Welcome, Shubomi. I'm going to go muted now. The show is yours.
Thank you. Let me just turn my camera back on. I hope I don't have screen sharing issues as well. That's what I was just trying to figure out.
Don't worry, that's a me problem.
Um, Thanks everyone for joining. I'm Shubomi. I'm a PM at Microsoft, working on AI tooling. So I work on Microsoft Copilot, and I'm really excited to share more about my work, but also just some of the workflows that I find AI to be like the most helpful for me. as a product manager who's not very technical. So I'm hoping that maybe the more non-technical people on the call can get some ideas on how they can also use AI. But even with the people who are, have a technical background, I think sometimes it's also always nice to see how, other folks are using it in their workflows. And I'm going to be sharing a lot from my work, because that's where I have the most experience, and that's where I use AI more, even though I should also use it more in my personal life. Okay, let me attempt to share my screen. Daniel, can you see my screen yet? No.
Not yet. But there we go. Okay, yeah, I can see a
Yeah.
screen.
Okay.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
So what do I need to do? I need to do a slideshow. Okay, is that working?
Yes, amazing.
Okay, perfect. So first, I created this deck with AI, so please bear with me. That's one of the ways that I use it. And I found it because the first time I tried to create decks with AI, it was really bad. And this time, Claude was surprisingly really good in terms of like the design and the color and the font. Like it was quite good on a first try. So maybe something we should try if you want to create decks. Okay, so today it would be a practical conversation about AI careers, tools, and skills that matter. We'll kind of just go through like my journey. I'll do a brief blog on what like my role as an AI PM looks like. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in chat. And Daniel, I'm happy to take questions like within the session. So yeah, if you just moderate that and feel free to like interrupt me with hands and stuff. Then tools and some of the skills that I've built to help me in my workflows, how I evaluate some of those workflows and outputs, and just some general like lessons and open Q&A. So my journey, I started as a product manager about 5 years ago now, and I was working on your typical consumer products. So right before Microsoft, I worked at Bumble, and I worked at Meta, Facebook. But before that, I was in Nigeria as well. I did my university in Nigeria, and I started in product sales or tech sales rather, selling like data tech products. And it was during technology sales. I was kind of like, I think COVID period, I was doing the same sort of like selling process quite often. And I got a bit bored. Then AI, I mean, obviously AI has existed for a long time with like machine learning and stuff, but ChatGPT had not yet released to consumers yet. So it wasn't like as big as it is now. So then I just knew I wanted to leave sales and go into product because I really enjoyed that process of thinking about the problem, what problems the user is facing, and figuring out the simplest or the best ways to help them solve that problem. So that was just like my thought process then. And then I went into product management at that company before moving to the UK. So I would say with my first few product roles, I learned like how to really identify and solve real problems, which has really helped me now because with AI, it's really easy to just go and start building things without thinking about what is the problem that we're trying to solve for. And so I think even if you're just tinkering on your own or building, side projects, like one of the most important things to really get crisp on is like, what is the user problem that you're trying to solve? And so it was around 2023 that I knew I wanted to work on AI products when ChatGPT was released. And for me, the transition wasn't the smoothest. So, it's a steep learning curve. I studied economics in the university, so I don't have the most technical background. And there was a lot of uncertainty at the time, like the industry moves really fast. So from a career perspective, I wasn't like super sure what I was doing, but I was just sort of going with the flow. Now, being an AI product manager for about 2 years, it's still very much a product role, like any other product role, right? Like someone said, the way back in the day, they would have like when mobile became a thing, they would have like mobile product managers and other product managers. So, but now no one is really called a mobile product manager. You're just a product manager. And I think that's how in a few years it would be with AI, because either you're working on like an AI native stuff, or whatever you're working working on, you're really using AI in your workflow, that you can also just call yourself an AI PM. Yeah, I'll move to the next slide. So what does this look like for me? Yeah, still product management at the core. What changes though is that now the product is not deterministic. So with the products that, how do I remove this? Okay. So with the products that I was working on in the past, it was very deterministic, right? Like A plus B equals to C, the same output every time. So it was really easy to set up requirements. It was really easy to ship, because once you ship, you know you've achieved your requirement, and now that is the definition of done. But with AI systems, it is not deterministic. So, you know, with everyone on this call has definitely used like AI tools before, ChatGPT. And so if you ask the same question multiple times, you will get different answers. This is where evaluation comes in, and figuring out the loop that would help you to ensure that you're still getting to success for the problem that you wanted to solve. So yeah, and basically now I'm managing a system with behavior that I can shape, but I can control. So that has kind of really changed the role, and in that sense is now a bit different from your typical product role. I still have a lot of meetings on my calendar. That's not a surprise, because there's still alignments that needs to be done across multiple teams. I'm still responsible for making sure people are aligned around the same shared goal. But now there are some new interesting things that I've seen popping up in my calendar. So I get to review model outputs, right? So we have like evaluation meetings where we're reviewing model outputs against the metrics that we have set up. We have more user research, but it's a bit more it's a bit different. I'm now actually running experiments, so I'm doing a lot of vibe coding when I write my specs, and I'm like sending my specs to my science and engineering team, usually with a prototype. I'm also testing the different model outputs. I'm still prioritizing on blocking. What I'm not doing though is I'm not writing code. So I'm not necessarily pushing things to production. Maybe there's a world where that happens, but I'm not doing that at the moment. I'm not training our models. Instead of training models, what I'm doing is I'm setting or defining what success means, and I'm leaving that to like my scientists to go and do. Okay, so trying to move quickly through all the initial stuff, but I think I've said most of this. The definition of done doesn't exist as it used to, right? Like you need to evaluate and adjust. And when you ship previously, that's like the end. But with AI products, I think that's when the work starts. Like you ship and then you start measuring and you start iterating and you ship again. So, and as the PM, you basically own evaluation. So that kind of becomes your product as well, because if you're working on AI tools, you're kind of responsible for making sure that whatever responses your AI tooling is giving to your users is solving the initial problem that they had. And it's not just random. Okay, so now going into some of my workflows. Daniel, I want to check in and pause because I can't see the meeting thing. So I don't know if there's any questions.
No, not at all. Not yet. And I've just put in the chat as well for everyone listening. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll be collating them. Go ahead, Shubhami.
Cool. So now I wanted to get a bit more practical and just kind of like share some of the ways that I've used AI in my own work experience as a product manager, and how I build with AI. So for me, there's multiple things you could use it for, right? But for me, I tend to use AI firstly as like a thinking partner for like really ambiguous problems. So when I want to brainstorm solutions, things that I know might be bad, but I might pick one or two out of the solutions. When I want to break down a problem or develop like framing. But I also use AI for like research synthesis, right? Understanding patterns, data analysis. Then the one I really want to focus on this call is like repetitive tasks that I do often. So as a PM, there's a lot of repetitive things that I do, right? Like I have to write specs, for example, for my engineers. I have to write a weekly newsletter for my leadership team. I have to write a weekly newsletter that goes out to most of the company. I have to think about my product health. So I have specific metrics, evaluation metrics that I'm tracking, and I have to like open that dashboard, understand if anything is amiss. And so there's a lot of these parts of my job that I do like every week or every twice a week. And these are some of the ways that I was thinking like, hey, could I get AI to help me handle the whole process? Like that would be great if AI could just generate my spec or generate my newsletter and I don't need to do anything. Like that's the goal. However, that's not really where we're at yet. So I try to find ways to either get to a first draft with AI or enable key parts of the process. Now, there are multiple ways to do this, right? Like you could just go to Claude and say, hey, Claude, I'm working on this product. Please help me with the first draft of this topic, right? And it could just be a really simple prompt. But chances are that wouldn't be a great doc, right? Like you'll be starting from a really bad place. So what I like to do is to give context first. And I basically built this system that works for me with my work where I have like context files on the products that I work on, who I am, what my role is, who my manager is, my audience, what type of things I do on week. And it takes a lot of time and initial setup, but that has massively improved the quality of like my AI things that I do with my work. So I like to create those context, not content, context. I mean, content also kind of works, and skill docs. So skills are like specific skills or things that I want my AI system to do. For example, I have a skill on like generating specs, right? Like I write so many specs that I have so many examples of what a good spec looks like. And so if I want to write a spec about a new topic, I should be able to feed all these examples into my AI system. So it understands like my tone, it understands what I typically like put as headers, it understands what I care about, it understands my audience, and it can come up with the first draft of a spec for me. So that would be a skill. Another skill would be like product health, right? Like I have all these dashboards and all this data available to me. And typically I would go through, I would try to make sense of, what's happening and understand patterns. But maybe AI can do this better than me. Like maybe it's, so that's another skill that I have. And so those skills are just like things that you want to tell AI how to do. You want to give enough context on like, okay, this is how I do it. This is how you can do it. And then you want to iterate based on the response, based on things that have changed for you and for your product. Okay, I've said most of this. Yeah, so skills are basically a written set of instructions that would shape how an AI tool would approach a task. It typically would have like the format that you want, your voice, your process, your context. Written ones applied every time. However, it is not like it's a document that it's a living document basically. You don't just write it and forget about it, because remember it's a loop, so you need to iterate every time you notice something or every time you evaluate. So I wanted to share like 2 of my key workflows. And a lot of this is like real stuff that I use at work. So these screenshots are like real work stuff that I've created. And some of these I've even shared. And like we have like, 100 PMs using some of these skills. So some of these have been quite successful in terms of like, getting people to also build their own AI systems and skills to do specific things, right? So weekly newsletter was one of my first ones because I do this every week. It takes like almost my entire Friday. It takes a lot of my time and it's every week. and it's something that I think about the whole week, right? Like I have a doc where I'm like putting things that I want to send out, because I send one newsletter to like senior leadership and one newsletter to like the company, right? And so, over the past couple of months, I've tried to build this ideal newsletter creation system for me on Claude that has probably reduced my time to create that newsletter by 10 times. And then the second one is a newer one. I wanted to share it because I tried to create multiple agents. I don't know if I'll call them agents. But just like multiple workflows within this one workflow that helps me to do certain things, right? Because when you think about data analysis and product health, right, like you might want to search for the data first of all, then you might want to like look out for patterns, then you might want to put all those patterns together. So I thought it makes sense to break this down into separate workflows than just like put it all at once. So I also wanted to share that. Daniel, just pause in.
Yes, good place to
Oh,
pause. There's one question in the chat.
okay.
Yeah, someone's asking, where
Right.
do you generate the context files and where do you save them?
Okay, that's a great question that I don't know how useful my answer will be, but I generate them. I like it's a .md file, so it's a file that I create on VS Code.
What is
Um,
.md?
Markdown. I don't know what that means.
Markdown. Okay, yeah. So
Um,
yeah, markdown files.
but I think they are Markdown files, right? Yes. And so I use them on like it has files on my computer, right? And so there are the files about the specific AI workflow that I'm using, and I have a folder that's like weekly newsletter. And in that folder, it has the context, which is context about my product, right? Which is like, let's say, Microsoft Copilot. It has context about me, who are my role, my level, my manager, all things like that. And actually, I have a slide on that that I'll get to, just showing some of the things that I put in my context file. And so in my case, it's kind of saved on my computer / my work uh, systems that we have, right? So we have this like internal code system. So it's almost saved as code, like in my because I use Claude mostly through the CLI. I just like slash my skill and it pulls the right stuff. I hope that's helpful.
Nice, thank you. Does anyone have any follow-on questions from there? Okay, just so people know, what I'm doing is I'm writing up a paragraph. I say the AIs are doing it. Writing up a paragraph on what markdown files are and how people can create theirs if they want. So that will go in the chat for anyone that might have questions. Thank you, Shubhumi. Please feel free to go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Can I change the slide from here now? Okay, I need to go back in there. Okay, cool. So I think I'm going into the weekly newsletter one first. And just sharing, yeah, this is just like basically synthesizing the week into clear stakeholder communication. Takes too long. So my workflow here is, let me just go in. It basically searches, it knows all, like I know all the things I do already every week. This is a process that I'm very familiar with. And what I've tried to do is to distill that as much as I can and tell Claude to do that for me. I've been working on this for a few months, so it's taking time and iteration. Like after the first week, I'm like, okay, this is really bad, but what's bad about it? And then I try to go back to correct that and see how it changes the output. So this is just sharing my actual workflows, and I've just like removed some things that are more private corporate stuff. But like phase 0 is basically discovery. Like I need to find what I need, right? So Azure DevOps, that's like Jira. So before scouting, gather context to make those searches effective. You need to identify key people, right? You need to identify key projects. You need to search. You need to do a keyword search for work items that I'm working on. So project name, that kind of just links back to my project file that I have. Search for people, search for PR, search for work items, search across all 3 orgs that I work in. Search code, collect all those items. So now we're trying to scope things down by date. So collect items that were completed this week in progress, PRs that were merged, sprint progress, blocked items. I'm basically just at this point trying to discover a lot of things that exist that are going to input into the newsletter. Now, this is information that I use every week. So basically, what happens is Friday morning, I basically just run my skill and see what comes out before I then go into do the edits. And then phase 2 is newsletter assembly. Phase 3 is refinement, right? So now I want to cross-reference all my sources and synthesize input into a newsletter. Now, this is all in like natural language, really. So it's not something that's super technical. Anyone can put this sort of information in a Markdown file and have Claude access it. But the good thing about this is you don't need to do this every time. Next time, I will basically just say, oh, go to the newsletter skill and run that, right? So here I have, if the chat mentions a PR, find the ADO link. So I'm trying to make sure that it is correcting itself, because sometimes what you see as mistakes is that it's then maybe hallucinating a PR, for example. But if I've said, if there's a PR, find the link, because that's how they're connected internally, then I've seen times where it's like, oh, okay, that's actually wrong. I can't find any links for that. That's the wrong PR. This is the correct PR. And then we go into the actual structure of my newsletter, right? Which is basically TLDR, what did we ship this week? Very short and sweet. What's in progress? What are the key decisions, blockers, risks, metrics next week? What are we doing? And then because I do multiple types of newsletters, so I also wanted to ask me, who is this newsletter for, right? I have a specific way it should be written, if this newsletter is for LT, the leadership team, or if it's for like my team, or like just, the regular rest of the company. And then if there's anything I want to emphasize, and if this is, I want it to be ready to send, so it basically just goes straight to our newsletter tool, or I want to edit it first. Now, I always edit first, but I've put that in there because like I said, I've shared this with other product managers in the company, and some people have actually found it good enough to just like take it straight to the like tool. Anything here? So yeah, like, and this is just saved on my computer. I have my context file saved. I have my newsletter file saved. And every time I want to use it, I go into Claude and say /newsletter for this date to this date, and it creates something. And like the second skill that I want to share is on product health. So product health is a really key one for me, and it's still like I'm still really iterating. Like this is it's a much harder skill to create. I've had to like work with some of my engineers on just like refining this. But the main problem here is, how do I understand the performance of my product from all the multiple dashboards? How do I understand trends? How do I connect signals? And this is something that I think personally, like human beings are still better at in terms of interpreting the trends and patterns, but it's so time consuming. And I think my goal here is to use AI to at least kick off that process, identify all the patterns, possible. And then I, as the PM, can say, okay, this makes sense. I can look at the trends and then turn those into insights for my product or for my team. So what I'm doing here is trying to feed it metrics, dashboards, experiment results, what does success mean for my product, and have it go synthesize like trends, flag things. So that's where I found it to be super helpful in like flagging areas where like things are depreciating, or things just look weird, anomalies, and highlight things that I should pay attention to. So the key part here is there's still the human part. I still need to like pay attention to whatever it's produced. So what I taught the skill, my key product metrics, what good versus concerning looks like. So I had to give a few examples, a few benchmarks, a few trends that I have found previously, and understand like the outputs, right? So clear summary of like product health, key metric movements, why they might be happening, anomalies, and recommendations. Okay, so similarly to the last one, I'm sharing my actual files. So feature product name, And then phase 0 is to like just get some context, right? Because this is a multi-agent workflow, so all the various agents kind of need context to complete their work, right? So here I have also a context file, so you can see maybe this helps with the person that had the question on how it was stored, right? Like it's basically just stored under this folder in my computer /memory/ the context file /memory/ my user profile. So I have this already filled in. I have my project trackers and data sources table. And yeah, so it's basically just trying to get more information on what the product is. Here is trying to get information on me. Who am I? What projects do I own? What are my goals? What are the stakeholders? And then it's going to package all of those things that it's gotten as context and pass that to my agents. So this means the agents will have all the like what they need rather than guessing or hallucinating. So I'm going to have a product health team, right, that's created once this skill runs. And we have an analyst, we have a search scout, a dashboard reader, and also a web researcher. So again, these skills I have made more generic, right? Because I've had to share this with other PMs. But like the analyst is basically looking at the data. This is a skill, this is a role, right? Like if you think about tech roles today, there's someone who's a data analyst, and it's a really core skill, someone who needs to look at the data, understand trends. So that's what this agent does. And I have like instructions for this agent, like look at these things. There's my search scout, my like Jira, so ADO, that's basically Jira. Look at the bugs in our specific feature path, sort them, reset live sites, work items in progress, recent completions. That's trying to get a better context of where the product is at today to be able to come up with the correct product health reports. Dashboard reader. So now I think the reason why I had this as a specific agent is because like it needed specific API integrations. And so I didn't want to merge this with the analysts, right? I just wanted this to have its own specific requirements. And I've put that there. And then we have web researcher, which was a feature request from some other PM. I don't personally really use that. And so all of these agents as well have their own specific files. So for example, with the dashboard reader, it has its own specific file where I've had to put in like API documentation and how like the integration happens. So there I had to work with one of my engineers just to make sure it actually got access to the dashboards that it needed to view. And then this is what like I like my product health report to look like. I'm still fine-tuning this, but overall status, right? Like I need like a healthy, which is green, it needs attention, or critical failure, like something I need to drop everything to look at. My key metrics, recent changes, screenshots from my dashboards, because then again, that helps to cross-reference between what it's saying and what is actually there. So I like to incorporate that into the skill documents. And then recommendations, following up, things I should follow up on. Yeah, I'll pause again.
Yeah, no question in the chat, but me, I have questions. Maybe because I'm a PM and I'm wondering, how long did it take you to put
Let me go
this
back
particular
to the
skill together?
video.
You mentioned working with your engineers to put it together as well. How long did that take?
Yeah, so this is a more recent one. I probably started working on this like February. And I don't think it's still there yet, to be honest. I would have loved to put some outputs, but then I would just like cover everything. So I figured there was no point. But it has helped me notice areas that I wouldn't typically pay attention to. Right. So telling me things like, oh, customer feedback is really increasing for this specific scenario that you own. like customer like negative feedback, and it's increasing around this specific topic. And I wasn't previously looking at that, or I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Actually, I was going to say that did you find, I mean, you mentioned since February to now we're in April, seems like a long time to put a skill together. Do you think it's worth it?
So I think it's a loop. So I've like, I mean, I did use it in February, but in terms of like iterating on it, that
Mhm.
it takes time, because every time I use it, I then try to go back to see things that I could improve, or like more instructions that I could add to make it better.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not necessarily like I've not been working on it for 2 months, but I would
Mm.
probably still
So you've
continue
been
using
refining for
it.
2 months. Yeah, fair enough, fair
Yes,
enough.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, someone else is asking, Uche is asking, would you consider making these skills public and tweaking them so people can
Mm,
install, can work with their own company's context?
potentially, I could, I guess, right? Like I could just like, yeah, I think I know Uche. Let's chat. Let's chat.
Well, thank you for asking, Uche. But I mean, just for, I'm very sure there are other PMs there's on the chat. If anybody
Yeah,
wants such a skill, me, I know I do. So please don't send
yeah.
it to Uche in the DMs. But I think it'll be really interesting if this would be something that there's a skill economy out there, skill marketplace.
Mhm.
Maybe see somebody saying please and thank you.
Yeah, I
Um,
think the only thing I would need to think about, because right now it's really built for my internal company context.
mhm,
So I should also try to use this just personally. It's just
mhm.
that I don't really have, but like I should try to
Okay.
figure out how it would work, and then that should be easy.
Okay, so two things. One is that I'm more than happy to follow up and figure
Mhm,
out how to make sure this is available, at least to everyone on the call and
mhm.
probably outside as well. And then someone is saying, I'm not a PM, so I'm not sure why this is called a skill. I feel lost. Can you clarify? Thanks for thanks for
Yeah,
asking, Tolu.
great question. So it's just a skill because it is a skill. That's a pun intended. But you know the way, like, I guess if you like as a product manager, there are certain skills that I have, and like creating this newsletter is a skill that I have that I've been working on. I do it every week, so I've been creating these newsletters every Friday. And now with AI, we've said that AI is able to help us to automate regular tasks. So the idea of skills is, can I package the things that I know into this sort of documents and add it to my AI tool? In this case, I'm using Claude, so that whenever I want to generate a newsletter, Claude can access this skill as context, so that it knows, okay, I'm going to generate a newsletter. That's what I want to do. And this is all it's just like a prompt, right? So if you're familiar with the prompt, it's just that in this case, the prompt is stored with Claude's like database and folders. And so it can just kind of say, okay, I want to generate a newsletter. There is this document that tells me how to generate a newsletter, because AI inherently, you know, it doesn't have your context. It doesn't know what you know as a human being in your role. So skills are a way to just sort of do that work up front, package what you know into your product, and have AI like use that multiple times, versus you having to prompt all the time, because then that's like you won't be able to prompt to this level of detail all the time.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
let me see the chat.
So if I understand what you've just shared,
Environment.
you've just said that a skill is a way to make sure
Mhm,
that you can basically get an AI to do the same task for you, a
mhm,
specific
mhm,
task, every single time you want to do it.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
Does that help?
yeah, I think you
Story?
put it in the chat. Um, then okay, so should we switch over? I wanted to share a bit of the context files, just like what
Okay,
mine sort of
yes, that would be
like.
amazing. Yeah, so yeah, just in case anyone's not actively watching the chat, I've just said we're going to run out in like 3 minutes, so that's my bad. We have a longer Google Meet with no time limit, but we didn't use that. We used one with a 1 hour time limit instead. So I've just shared the Google Meet link in the chat. If you all will be so kind to join that one instead, I think we'll be able to wrap up pretty soon. Subomi still has a few gems, and I'm sure you guys still have questions. I saw a couple of hands up. So if you can just start switching over to that call, that'd be amazing. See you guys on the other side. I'll drop now so that you can actually come. Like this workshop, there will be a lot of things to share afterwards for people here or not here. So I'll add that to the list as well. Thank you very much,
Oh
Subomi.
yeah.
There's
So I'm
one
just
more
gonna,
question.
okay. Yeah. I think I'm
Yes.
pretty much done anyway. There's not
Okay,
last.
okay. Mia, finish up and then I'll ask the question and give
Yeah,
other
let
people
me
a chance
finish.
to add
So
more questions.
this is just how I think about output quality and evaluation. Like evaluation is a whole topic on its own that we could spend an hour on. So I haven't really gone deep into it at all. But it's basically just when you get output from AI, which can be just a response or it can be, a doc that you've asked your AI to write. How are you able to like define quality? And so for me, I really look at like accuracy. Is this correct? Can I verify it? So I really like to be able to, can I go verify? But before that, even can the AI verify it by itself? So, for example, I have a lot of like LLM judge loops that go on where the AI is trying to correct itself and say, is this correct? Now that's also, you kind of also need to verify that process, but that's the first step. Then I also want to go into some of the outputs to be able to verify, did he answer what was asked? So is he answering the problem that I had? Is it complete? And then calibration, because AI can be very confident, but is it matching what it's putting out, right? Like, so when I run my LLM judges, sometimes it marks it really high and then it was really bad output. So that means it needs to be calibrated. Yeah, I think that's it. So like AI should be like a first draft from a very confident, very junior colleague is a useful starting point, and your judgment is still the most important thing. It's a learnable skill. You don't need a technical background. And I think I'm proof of that. Like I've spent like a couple of months really upskilling on how to use AI to improve my own workflows as a PM. And as someone who like I still don't know how to code, even though I've been a PM for 6 years at this point. And I didn't study computer science, even though now I understand a lot of the concepts of computer science. So it's still very possible to be AI literate, irrespective of your technical background. And I think the best way to learn is to use the tools and build. Like there's so many problems maybe in your personal life. It could be anything from like maybe music to to-do lists, whatever you think is a problem in your day-to-day life or in a friend or family's life. You can say, hey, I want to go try build something to solve that problem. So you can just start by thinking about something you do that's repetitive. You do it every week, every month. And how can you use AI to, like, how can you document your process to use AI to help improve that process? Thank you. I'll stop sharing and then we can take like a few questions and we are done.
Amazing. Thank you, Subomi. So yeah, anybody that has questions, please can I ask that you put them in the chat and then I'll start firing them at Subomi one after the other. In the meantime, if you've been around with YPIT, you know that one of our core, I guess, one of the core reasons why we exist is to make sure that young professionals meet each other, learn about each other, build relationships with each other. So for the next 1 to 3 minutes, while we are waiting for questions to pop in the chat, um, I would just like for people to also drop in the chat a link where you would like people to find you, connect with you, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, I'll be clicking on as many links. So if that's your website, your LinkedIn portfolio, something cool you built, more than happy to. Everyone would be happy to connect with you. At the same time, I'll be waiting for any additional questions. So feel free to pop them in the chat. I know some people had their hands up. Venetia did at some point. I hope you still have that question. Please pop it in the chat.
Hi. Yes, I do. I just sent it. I was hoping we could ask to give more context, but I guess you could just read it out.
Yes, I will be
Yeah.
reading out all the questions. when people are popping their links. Okay, in the meantime, let me start reading out the questions. Please keep popping in your links, by the way. Um, Dorcas says, okay, I think you covered this in evaluation, knowingly or unknowingly, but Dorcas was asking, for someone that knows nothing about coding, how does one get, how does one make this prompt, I guess, accurately or even use them?
Yeah, so I think making the prompts is just like the same way you would prompt any AI tool, but now it's just like a longer prompt. So sometimes they call it like a meta prompt or a system prompt. It's just a prompt that you put in more thought into that lives in a file that your AI can access. So I would say you don't necessarily need to be technical. There might be use cases where they get more technical, like if you need to connect APIs or things like that. But generally, you just need to be able to sit down, think about something that you know a lot about or that you do repetitively and try to document that. So that might be writing a PRD, or that might be, like if you write a PRD, that's not a technical task, right? Like as a PM, you know a lot about the product. So if you want to use AI to set up a PRD meta prompt, then you need to think, okay, what is my product? What type of PRDs do I usually create? What is the structure of my typical PRD? And then you document that for Claude or ChatGPT or Copilot to use.
Okay,
And
thank
then
you. For those that are managers, I was just going to say,
oh
Shubomi PM terms, PRD or whatnot. We
yeah.
apply that across whatever roles. If you're a marketing person and you need to create marketing documents, if you're a comms person, you work in communications, create a comms document, create social media posts, create, you're a developer, you need to create specs for what you're building or by your own self, maybe a plan or architecture. This thing applies regardless of what you do. I know that for a fact because I also use it across non-PM tasks. So amazing. I've added a meta prompt kind of thing to the list of things that we might be able to share with people afterwards.
And then I think we have I could probably take one more question so I can see Venetia's question. So this might be more contextual than practical. When you're handed an ambiguous new product to build and you lean heavily on AI for discovery, features, everything as you should, have you ever seen that catch up with you post deployment when real user interaction exposes technical debt? Yes, 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 absolutely. And I think that's why, as product managers, we need to be cautious about still being the voice of the user as we build. And what does that mean? That means it's still core product work. You need to make sure you're thinking critically about what the user problem is. You're doing your user research. You have conviction that this solution might solve the user problem. And then you're running experiments, right? So you're thinking about the simplest way you can run that experiment to see if it actually solves the user problem. So I would say, like, yes, it does happen because AI gets me and my team and engineers and scientists really excited, and we just go building like random things. Then you come back and then you're like, oh, this actually did not solve the user problem. Like that has happened so many times. But that's just bad, like building, bad product management, and but it has nothing to do with AI. Because what I've noticed is that it just means that I wasn't as cautious enough about the user problem, right? Or I didn't experiment, like the team had gone to do this like really massive thing, and we didn't have conviction that that would solve the problem. We hadn't run any experiments. We hadn't thought about what the MVP is and run an experiment on that. So I think it's just not getting too excited, because with AI it can be really easy to just do discovery and like brainstorm. Um, and just making sure like you're thinking, what is the core user problem? You're running your experiments, you're thinking, what is the simplest thing we can do to solve this problem, versus using AI to do something that's just like massive that you didn't even need to do. So that's how I've dealt with it. And just coming back to that, like as a PM, I'm the voice of the user, and making sure my engineers know that and my scientists know that, like, hey, this is the focus, this is the most important thing that we need to build. Which is why I said at the start, like being an AI PM, it's still just being a PM. Like at the end of the day, the core PM skills are still the most important ones.
Okay,
Hope that's helpful.
amazing. All right. There we go. If it's helpful, then share, just do a thumbs up. Great, great.
I mean, it is, but I, a bit of more context to it is that, it's new terrains. You really haven't played in that space before. Everybody is literally just finding out, what that is about. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, there are global standards to do it. And then in Nigeria, the reality is sort of different, say, speaking to logistics and all. So you
Mm-hmm.
really just have to make a formula that works with your terrain. And then it looks good on paper. You build it, it looks good. And then you just see that users interact with it. And then there's something that is not adding up somewhere. But back to what
Yeah.
you said, I think it just calls for a deeper level of research, deeper level of experimentation. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I got it. It's good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think experimentation, like that's where you need to go heavy, especially when it's like really new, because like you don't know, no one knows. You just need to see what users will do and iterate based on that.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I will. So there's one more question. I think maybe from two questions. I'll try and answer them in 30 seconds. So you don't keep Shibomi on. What are the things I need to do when writing a prompt? I'll try and also provide that as part of the things that we share with people after this session. It's starting to become a long list, but Ike Carl, watch out for that. And then Toluwani asked how you are there ways to manage, the amount of credits you get charged when you have a tool that calls external APIs to function? Um, if you're going to get charged, you're going to get charged. Maybe use there are multiple ways to manage. You could use like a smaller model. So if you're using Claude and it's just going up to fetch something, maybe with a tool call, I think Haiku is the smallest model. Don't
Mm-hmm.
use Opus for it. Opus costs maybe 10 times more than Haiku.
Mm-hmm.
Or try and find another. If you can use multiple AIs, basically, that's the creative way to go about it. And then I think that was the last question. Oh, someone mentioned DeepSeek, way cheaper, which is true. Farouk said DeepSeek. I don't use DeepSeek much, but I've heard the exact same thing. That's
Yeah.
very cheap. All right. Thanks a lot, Shubomi. When I say thanks a lot, I mean like a lot,
Thank
for
you.
taking the time to talk to us, to talk to everybody, to share your experience. Um, I'm so happy with how this session went. It's the first of many. I shared the Luma calendar. The rest of the sessions will come up on Luma in a couple of days. There's probably one or two every week. Next week, Wednesday, we have an engineer from Paystack in Kenya, Andrew, is coming to talk about, MCPs, building in finance. Right after him on Thursday, to build on top of that, Jerry is coming on to talk about how he built this amazing app where he was talking to his bank accounts. And just the idea that you don't need to be technical, you don't need to be a developer. I would like everybody on this call to be there. I don't want you to think because you're not a developer, you shouldn't be there. It's literally they want to be sharing ways in which non-technical people can go as far as possible with AI. And I guess in the end, there's also our website. It has a lot more information about the artificial future, the programs coming up in the next few weeks. Every day the website changes, every day it's updated. I've just shared the link as well. Please take a look there. And yeah, man, this has been amazing. Once again, thank you, Shibumi.
Thank
Thanks everyone
you.
for
Thanks,
joining.
everyone.
Amazing. And then I will bid you all a good rest of your evening. And please watch out for, I'll send a blast to the Luma once we have a lot of those resources ready. And yeah, have a lovely rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.